This is Weirdly Enough, your regular podcast for strange stories and amazing facts, delivered straight to your favorite podcast directory and at weirdlyenough.com. Now, here are your hosts, Andy and Len.
Welcome to another thrilling installment of the Weirdly Enough podcast. Remember to like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts to get it as soon as it drops every Monday morning, or pretty much every Monday morning. Sometimes we don't record one, but often we do. We also have Weird Shorts, and that comes out on a Friday. First thing on a Friday morning, you can download the Weird Shorts podcast, so you can keep updated all the time. Also, do like us on Facebook. We're Weirdly Enough Podcast if you search for Facebook, and Weirdly Enough PC is our Twitter handle as well. You can get in touch, podcast at weirdlyenough.com, if you've got anything you want to discuss. This week it's all about out of place artifacts. I'm going to turn the light on because it's winter evenings now. It's getting quite dark.
It's getting really dark.
Is that better?
Yeah.
I'm joined with Len Johnson here in the studio today. I'm Andy Kane. Len, so today we're talking about out-of-place artifacts.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about this.
Well, I was searching for different topics because, I mean, one of the things that's sort of changing and as we go forward is I didn't expect us to be going as long as this.
Why not?
Because,
did you not have faith in it?
No, it's not that. It's just I was worried about loads of things. I was worried about, restrictions coming on, and I was worried about, the wells of inspiration drying up.
Well, they never will dry up. There's always something weird to talk about.
And I was worried about some serendipitous bad thing happening that kind of knock off course. But no, it appears we're still planning on.
Good.
So, which is good.
Yes.
But it brings its own challenges in the sense that we need to keep going with ideas here.
And why not? Yeah.
But sometimes ideas come from the most unusual places.
Mm-hmm.
Recently, I got a little Kindle app on my phone.
Okay.
And I would download just random books that I come across that are interest. Because some of them are uber cheap.
You should buy yourself a proper Kindle, they're good.
I know, but then I'd have to faff around with two things. It's kind of like if it's on your phone, it's like a one-stop shop.
I like my Kindle when I'm lying in bed, and then my phone when I'm out and about to read stuff.
I suppose so.
And they synchronise, so whatever page you stop, it'll start on the other device on that page.
Here, that's an idea. Maybe one of the listeners could buy me a Kindle.
Yes. Yeah.
To thank me for all the product, that we're pumping out. But anyway, getting off topic, but basically, I came across a very interesting little book, and it was 500 writing prompts.
Okay, right.
And basically, it was different, for people who want to try their hand at creative writing.
Yeah.
It was all these random little prompts of different genres.
Okay.
So some of them were like science fiction, some of them were like mysteries and thrillers and whatnot.
Yes.
But on the mystery and thriller section,
you're gonna start writing a book then.
I'm just saying, there's a point to this, believe it or not. But one of the little prompts was, because it was all little concepts, little vignettes, and that was to get you to kind of write for 20 minutes on this topic kind of thing. But one of the ideas was archaeologists are exploring a time in Egypt, and they uncover a sarcophagi that's been sealed, and then they find an iPhone.
Oh, right.
And that's quite an intriguing idea. And then it reminded me, there's been a bit of...
That wasn't a real thing, no.
No, this was an imagery to prompt you. So then you write for half an hour.
Yeah.
If you want to be the new Dan Brown or whatever, that's that sort of idea, Anyway, but this is a whole thing where people have found stuff that really shouldn't have been there. Now, I'll just run through a few examples. One of the examples is in 1968, archaeologist William Donato did multiple dives because he discovered a wall in regular shapes. It looks like a man-made wall off the coast of the Bahamas, and he thinks it's 12,000 to 19,000 years old.
Okay.
And it was built to protect a prehistoric settlement from waves. So he thinks it was built in ancient times by an ancient civilization, but during the Ice Age when the sea levels would have been much lower.
Yeah.
And now obviously the sea's covering it, so it's an interesting thing. Eugene Shin, a retired geologist, he worked for the US Geological Survey, has said core rock samples he took showed its depth towards deep water. And if all the cores showed up toward deep water, this would prove the rock formed where it is and did not form elsewhere to be transported by humans at its present occasion. It's a bit of a funny one, this, because they didn't date it, so they're just kind of surmising this. So it's not, not really. Some of these ones I think are more convincing than others.
But were there original settlers in the Bahamas back then to build this?
Well, you see, that's the other thing as well, because it depends, I think it was by that time that people came in from Asia, over the land bridge, the original inhabitants of the Americas,
Okay.
Now this is sort of, it's within the bounds of kind of possibility, but then you get into kind of crazier ones, like in 1961, in Ochalanda, California, there's people out searching for geodes for their gem shop.
Yeah.
So they wanted to go out and find geodes, which is a kind of precious stone or whatever. Yeah. But a Virginia Maxley discovered a spark plug encased in a geode.
Right? In the geode.
In the geode.
Yeah.
Now, apparently a geologist examined the fossils around the device in the geode and dated this at 500,000 years or older.
Right.
So basically, the spark plug must have been there 500,000 years ago.
What's a geode? Some sort of rock? Yeah.
It must be. Yeah. I'm not really
Yeah.
What's the word? Geologist.
Right. Okay.
But it must be some sort of precious stone.
Yeah.
Because they were looking for it for their wee shop,
Mm-hmm.
Now, you see, this is where I get a wee bit sceptical, because handily enough, the guy was never named.
Right.
So this is an unnamed geologist.
Yeah. Do you have anything on the London Hammer?
I might do. Yes, London, Texas.
Yeah, London, Texas.
A 100-million-year-old hammer. Hammer was found in 1934 in London, Texas, encased in stone that had formed round it, and the rock, they reckon, is 100 million years old.
Yeah.
So how did the hammer get in there?
It was found by Max Hahn and his female friend while out walking.
Right.
Sure you were, Max. You want to tell us something? The metal hammerhead is approximately 6 inches long and has a diameter of 1 inch, leading some to suggest it was a hammer used for large projects, not used for large projects, but soft metal work. But 1 million years old. It was inside a rock.
How did it get inside the rock?
That is so strange. Yeah.
It is a bit weird. There's one I like here. According to ancient Indian legend, King Rama built a bridge between India and Sri Lanka more than 1 million years ago, and they think they found a bridge that links India and Sri Lanka, and it can be seen from satellite images.
Right.
So again, the debate is it a natural formation or is it a natural bridge? Was it King Rama's bridge? One of the things that I find quite interesting though is, you say in ancient Indian legend, like the Baghdad Battery and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There's tales of what to modern eyes very like nuclear war.
Yeah. Okay.
So I mean, this leads on to, it's like a lot of episodes, and weirdly enough, is that the one?
That's the bridge taken from NASA.
See, it's interesting. Is it just random rocks, or is it your man's bridge?
Yeah. That is strange. How far is
the
distance between India and Sri Lanka?
God, I couldn't tell you. It's 30, far enough.
30 miles long.
Yeah. But I suppose that'll be the same from here to Scotland.
Yeah.
Maybe a bit more, But no, if you look at things like the Baghdad Battery, there's what appears to be nuclear weapons and things like that. But it's a lot of episodes, and weirdly enough, they all kind of link into each other after a while, because remember we did about the mud flood.
Yeah, mud flood.
And one thing I do, I'm not saying any of these are real necessarily, but one of the things I often think about is, I think civilization is a lot more cyclical than people realise.
Right, okay.
I think,
So we've been round before.
I think we've been round the rodeo a few times.
Mm.
I don't know how advanced we've got, but I think, it's like, one of the things people often say is, if there was some sort of cataclysm that happened tomorrow, what would be left after 1 million years?
Yeah.
Because all the technology, that's hardly going to be there after 1 million years.
Yeah.
So
if people didn't know how to recreate it, then maybe. Yeah.
And if people did survive in a more primitive state, they tell these legends about the ancients.
Yes.
And the ancients were like gods because they could talk to people thousands of miles away.
Yeah.
You know.
Weird.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So who's to say these ancient legends, they weren't just like ancient people doing like undernut stuff?
Yeah.
Or their equivalent of the undernut, you know?
And then your pyramids that are built in like
Yeah.
Lima and Egypt and kind of resemble the same things.
Yeah.
So what other weird things have popped up embedded in rock?
Yeah, there's another one in France in the 18th century. Quarrymen came across tools stuck in a layer of limestone 50 feet underground. And the wooden instruments were so ancient they turned into like a hard stone.
Right. Kind of fossilized.
Yeah, and again, it takes thousands and thousands of years for that to happen, you know. Another famous one is the Baghdad Battery.
I've heard of this a lot, yeah.
And it's 3 objects that were found together: a ceramic pot, a tube of copper, and a rod of iron. And it was discovered in Iraq. And they think it was the 150 BC or something like that, you know. Its origins and purpose aren't clear. Some people think that it could have been a galvanic cell that was possibly used for electroplating or some kind of electrotherapy.
Right.
So
even back then they knew about electroplating.
So it could have been something like that. Other people think it was just for storing scrolls.
Yeah.
You know, so it's very kind of open to interpretation. Another funny one is in 1852 there was a guy called John Buchanan. He presented a mysterious object to a meeting of the Society of Antiquaries in Scotland, and he found a drill bit buried in coal, about 22 inches thick, mixed with boulders about 7 feet thick. Now, they think the coal seam formed hundreds of millions of years ago, and the society decided the instrument was of a modern level of advancement. So again, it's one of these things. What is it doing there?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so yeah, it's a bit of a funny. There's weird ones as well. In 132 AD, there's a Chinese scientist called Zhang Heng. He created the world's first semioscope, which is basically a fancy word for an earthquake detector.
Right.
Now they've made replicas of us. It seems to work.
Right.
Which is really weird. And apparently in the year 138 AD, it correctly indicated that an earthquake occurred 300 miles west of Luoyang, which was the capital city. No one had felt the quake in Yaoyang, and they said this was rubbish. And then a few days later, a messenger came from the area that was affected, saying there's been an earthquake and need help. Yeah. And that was recorded.
Wow.
Yeah. So it seems that by the replicas and by what happened, it seems to actually work. Which is like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years before earthquake detectors were a thing, you know, which is quite interesting. There's another one.
Then that's not, you know, something misplaced strangely. That's somebody a bit ahead of his time, really, isn't it?
Yeah, that's slightly a different sort of thing, you know. I mean, there is an idea as well. You get into kind of weird ideas about time not being a linear thing.
Yeah.
Like there is a school of thought that says that time doesn't actually exist, and that everything actually happens simultaneously, but just in different frequencies.
Right.
And that's why you get the phenomenon of people knowing about things before they happen.
Yeah.
They're just tuning into different frequencies. It's like, say, for talk's sake, it's like Nostradamus had all these kind of prophecies of what happened in the future. Yeah. Maybe these things had already actually happened.
Right, okay.
On a different frequency. So he's just tapping into it.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, they would kind of have to have already happened for him to be able to predict them.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean, in a strange kind of way.
And have you ever heard of the Peri-Rais map?
No, what's that?
It's a very bizarre thing. There was a guy, a Turkish admiral called Peri-Rais.
Yeah.
And in the 16th century, he did like a world map.
Okay.
And some people think it actually depicts Antarctica.
Alright.
In a very remote age before it was covered with ice. Because Antarctica, I don't think it was actually discovered until, I think it was Captain Scott.
Yeah.
In the 18th century, discovered Antarctica. And there was a guy called Lorenzo Burrows. He, as a US Air Force captain, wrote a letter in 1961 saying this landmass seems to accurately show Antarctica's coast as it is under the ice, because they've only sort of discovered that really in the past 50 years through like geophysical surveys and stuff, what it actually looks like under the ice.
Right.
Or what they think it looks like under the ice. But this map seems to be reasonably accurate.
The 1500s.
Yeah, now, I mean, in the 16th century, it would have been covered with ice.
Right.
So the question is, kind of, where did he get that knowledge from?
Yeah.
Unless he's been digging around in some ancient record of some ancient city, because then you get into ideas of like Atlantis and stuff like that. It's all pretty strange when you get into it, like, there's a few and this is a crazy one here. I don't know about this. This is a bit strange. 1972, a factory in France gets uranium ore from a place called Oklo in the Gabon Republic in Africa, which I don't know still exists. Apparently this uranium had already been extracted, and they find the site of origin to be functioning as a large-scale nuclear reactor that they think was going on the go 1.8 billion years ago.
Right.
Now, there's a guy called Glenn Seaborg. He is seems to be a credible person, because he's a former head of the United States Atomic Energy Commission.
Okay.
And he's a Nobel Prize winner.
So he knows his stuff.
Yeah. And he won it for his work in synthesis of heavy elements. And he thinks it wasn't a natural phenomenon. He says it must be a man-made nuclear reactor. Because he says, again, I'm going on trust here, because I'm not like scientific, so I don't know about this sort of stuff. But he says for uranium to burn in a reaction, you need very precise conditions, such as the water needs to be very pure, and much purer than you can have in nature.
Right.
You also need U-235, which is necessary for the fission to occur.
Yeah.
And basically, him and other scientists think there's no way this could all be prepared naturally.
Right.
So therefore, someone or something was operating a nuclear reactor a billion years ago. But then, if you say again, I definitely think there is something in that, because it may not be like the aliens or anything like that. It could just be human beings that have got very advanced and been destroyed. Because there's too much stuff.
But if you look into the science of evolution and stuff, 1.8 billion years ago, there was microbial life perhaps on Earth, and there wasn't anything else there. So,
but then it's always reviewed, because it's like in the 17th century they used to think the world was created 4,000 years ago.
Yeah.
But then that was obviously revised.
Okay.
So and there's too many, even in the Bible and things like that. There's too much references to things that kind of grow up and then fall down again. So there's definitely something on that. The ancient Egyptian light bulb. There's a place called the Temple of Hafour in Egypt, and there's a painting which depicts figures standing around a large light bulb-like object. Eric von Daniken, who's the guy that wrote Chariots of the Gods, created a model of the bulb which works when connected to a power source, and it emits an airy purplish light.
Right.
So, but I think that's kind of a bit.
So they had a light bulb when in ancient Egypt?
In ancient Egypt, yeah.
Wow.
I don't know, some of these are, strangely enough, the thing that at first glance seems the most absurd, like the billion-year-old reactor, in a weird kind of way, may actually be the more convincing when you look at it.
Yeah, well, at least scientists are saying,
because it's the guy that was like the head of the Energy Commission. So basically, if there's any of the what's our policy again? The weird bunch.
The weird bunch, yes.
If they've any ideas about this, send it onto the email address.
Podcast@weirdlyenough.com.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Even but when I used to hear about the Baghdad Battery, I thought it was like a double A sitting somewhere.
Yeah, you see, that's the thing. You think, you can just pop it into your iPhone or whatever. But it's some sort of weird electroplating.
But the tools and things are very strange. The hammer in stone and different things like that. Very odd.
How together.
Thank you very much. We'll be back in a moment or two with our weird shorts. So it's very heavy cat related, weirdly enough, this week. For this first one here is about Fremantle in Western Australia, where cats are to be banned from roaming outdoors if a new law proposed by the council gets the green light. Research shows that domestic cats who aren't allowed to roam live longer lives. However, the legislation is mainly to protect wildlife from the prowling predators. The chairman of the Western Australia Feral Cat Working Group, Tom Hatton, gave a presentation to the council highlighting that domestic urban cats kill 30 times more wildlife than adult cats in the wild. Fremantle Council are now advocating walking your cat on a lead. And local councillor Aden Lang told Perth Now that in the 70s dogs would roam our streets for free, and I expect now cats roaming free will be a thing of the past. So there you go.
Indeed.
Yeah. And a book has finally been returned to a public library in Boise, Idaho, 110 years late. The book was called The New Chronicles of Rebecca by Kate Wiggins. First published in 1907 and finally returned to the library. Officials have calculated the late fee to be over $800.
Please tell them they didn't charge them. I would crack up if they did.
This is based
on
a message printed inside the book stating that late fees would be charged at 2 cents per day. However, the library doesn't charge late fees any more than the cost of the book, which is $1.50. And anyway, the library totally did away with late fees in 2019.
What was the name of the book again?
The New Chronicles of Rebecca.
The New Chronicles of Rebecca. That sounds quite intriguing. What was that about?
It might have been that. Who wrote? It was Daphne du Maurier wrote Rebecca, so it might have been like.
Could be
a fan fiction kind of thing.
I don't know. I think Daphne du Maurier was later though. I think she was like 1940s or something.
Who wrote Rebecca?
I think it was Daphne du Maurier. It might have been a different Rebecca.
Right,
though.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, it might have been. And in Texas, a woman has found herself facing felony charges after a videotape of Sabrina the Teenage Witch, which was rented in 1999, was never returned.
Right.
Karen McBride applied to renew her driving license during the pandemic, but was informed by the DMV that there's an outstanding warrant against her in the state of Oklahoma. She was stunned. She said she didn't even like the Teenage Witch.
And did you have the video kicking about?
No, it was rented by her roommate, apparently.
Oh, right.
But it's mad, a felony charge for that. You're not a big fan of pizzas, are you?
Not really.
We've talked about this before. Well, here's one change you might like. This is from Bangkok in Thailand, where one of the major food changes, one of the major food chains have launched a promotional pizza called the Crazy Happy Pizza.
Right.
The secret ingredient is a cannabis leaf.
Crazy and happy.
However, it's legal and it won't get you high.
Yeah.
The company's general manager said in an interview that it's just a marketing campaign. You can taste the cannabis, and if you have enough of it, it might make you sleepy.
Right. Okay, but random.
Cannabis is also infused into the cheese crust of the pizza, and it's even an ingredient in the pizza dipping sauce. A 9-inch pie will cost 499 baht, which is about $15. So that's quite dear for a pizza.
The Crazy Happy Pizza.
Yeah. However, you can choose to have 2 or 3 leaves included as a topping on any pizza for 100 baht, and that's about $3. Thailand is the first country in Southeast Asia to legalise certain parts of cannabis and allow them to be used in food and beverages.
Right.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
And we were talking about the cat earlier on. Here's another cat story. A commercial flight from the Sudanese capital of Khartoum to Doha in Qatar had to make an emergency landing after the pilot was attacked, and he was attacked by a cat. The plane had to return to Khartoum around an hour after the departure after a feline passenger appeared in the cockpit and started to claw the pilot. Officials were stumped as to how the animal boarded the plane, but it's thought it was sleeping in a hangar overnight and stowed away during the night. It's unclear how injured the pilot was, but he took the decision to return the aircraft after members of the crew failed to corral the cat. So they were running around trying to get him. It's happened before. A cat stowed away on board an aircraft on a flight from Brussels to Vienna. There were 62 people on board the flight in 2004. And the pilot was also attacked. And in 2019, security staff at the Isle of Man airport discovered a feline stowaway in passengers' luggage. The owner said that they were shocked at the discovery. She must have snuck into the bag before we left for the airport. we didn't hear or feel anything on the journey. But if you believe that, you might believe anything. I think they were trying to get their pet on for free, perhaps. There you go.
Strange.
Very strange. We should be back again next week with more Weirdly Enough. We were talking about taking a Christmas break, but I think we'll push on. We'll shall push see. On. Yeah. So, but if we do disappear for a couple of weeks, you'll know we were taking a bit of a Christmas break. There you go. Have a great week, folks, and we'll talk to you again soon.